Well, it's about time for me to give you guys my Season 5, Episode 5 review of Samurai Jack, and let me just say I'm a little late to the party because I just came back from the Florida SuperCon Retro, and I hadn't slept in about 36 hours, so let's just say I needed to recharge my batteries a little bit. But I'm back, and to talk about this episode, the tonal shift was extremely different from the previous episode, where in the last episode, Episode 4, there was a lot of tension in it between obviously Jack and Ashi as she was trying to kill him in many instances. And obviously a lot of creatures inside of that monster's body were also trying to attack Jack and Ashi. But it didn't really feel the same way this episode felt, where the episode starts off with a battle sequence with all of those soldiers, revolting against Aku and attacking his palace. And Aku comes out, turns into a bowling ball, literally just like vaporizes and just runs them all over. And to me, that was crazy to see. How Aku can take an entire military and just decimate it in an instant, but yet in the past when he fought against Jack, obviously Jack would always get the upper hand, and Jack is just one man, you know what I mean? And also to see the army of daughters that, the Scottsman who made a return in this episode also had as well. And I feel like the initial sequence of this episode was very humorous in nature. And it was really interesting to see a lot of the characters. For example, I feel like the Scotsman, when he was telling one of his daughters that she needs to put on, less, clothes that wasn't obviously showing off her body as much, that was pretty funny. And I also like the fact that they all just charged against Aku, and the Scotsman was willing to give his life away from his daughters. And he gets vaporized in the process of doing so by Aku. But what I felt really added to this moment was the fact that the Scotsman, before he dies, he literally curses out, tells Aku, you can go fuck yourself pretty much. And he says, the only reason you're still alive is because Jack hasn't finished you yet. And as long as you're around, Jack is going to keep inspiring people to keep fighting against you. Because obviously there was so much time that has passed since, we last saw Samurai Jack, 50 years. So the Scotsman is obviously an old man now. And his daughters, they were so scared to see their dad dying. But interestingly enough, just like Star Wars, the Scotsman comes back. He literally comes back right after he's killed, and he's actually in his physical prime again. And to me, this is really funny how they made a very serious, dark moment humorous at the same time. And he's like, well, I'm dead, but I'm pretty much better off now, and I can help you guys even more now that I'm a ghost, and let's go back and replan all of that. So I thought that scene was excellently done. It added humor and sadness at a very awkward point in time to perfection, which is weird enough to say. So we move on to the other elements of this episode, and some of the things I really liked was the chemistry between Jack and Ashi, especially how at the very beginning Jack is turning a serpent-like creature into, I guess you could say, pretty much like an ocean taxi, and at the same time, Ashi is clearly contemplating her thoughts about what she's been raised to do in killing Jack versus, Jack's morality. And the clear fact of the matter is, even though Ashi didn't have a complete 180 turn from the last episode, she was willing to get on the serpent with Jack, which is obviously saying that she has some belief in him. And as the episode evolves, you see that Ashi is opening up significantly more towards Jack. Especially, one scene I really loved was when they got away from the little island that they were on. She's still asking Jack questions, and Jack is pretty much talking to her about Aku, and she was saying, is Aku responsible for the stars? And Jack is like, my mom always told me the story of a little brother and little sister who expanded the entire universe. And you see Ashi smile, and Ashi's smile indicates a massive transition in the character, because it gave her peace to know that she, for once in her life, because her whole childhood was taken away from her, her whole childhood she's been raised to kill one person, and it gave her some solace to know that she literally gets some gratification of life and what she could have been if she was a child with that one smile. And I thought that was just a brilliantly executed scene. So as they obviously move throughout the episode, many things are happening. I'm not going to try to retell everything, but some of the key details I also liked were when they go to the city and Jack is with Ashi, and Jack puts on like those retro clothes with the hat and stuff, and you see that there's this creature with a Russian accent from, you know, he's from outer space, and he's talking to Aku, and he's saying how, you know, he wants to, you know, obviously be a part of, you know, Aku's, you know, army or whatever, and, you know, they were to go to this village, and Jack and Ashi go back to check out, you know, this village that, you know, that creature was going to, and crazy enough, everybody there was wiped out. And it was implied from the beginning that they would have been killed when the creature was talking about, are there any people who live there? And he's like, and the guy who was talking to the creature was saying yes. And he goes there and he smiles. It's like, yes, like there's people there, so I could obviously cause, you know, carnage and mayhem, which was very, very, very sad and very dark for Samurai Jack as well. But I think the darkest moment in this episode would have to be when they see that injured guy in that village. And you see how, you know, he was like so happy to see Samurai Jack, and he's talking about how like they've pretty much taken all the kids, and you go back to the city and you see like all of these kids have literally become like, you know, infected zombies, these thing creatures. I'm gonna call them things because, you know, if you guys know anything about Dr. Seuss, you know, you have Thing 1 and you have Thing 2. So what the hell, they look kind of like Thing 1 and Thing 2, or I don't know. I don't remember Dr. Seuss that well, but they definitely look like Dr. Seuss creatures. So, you know, you go back to these things, and, you know, they're all like attacking, you know, Ashi and Jack, and it's caused by this loud sound. And I really loved how Jack this time is asking Ashi to help out, and Ashi, you know, being very well trained too, just like Jack, is, you know, being able to like jump around and get over and trying to disable it. But then she's attacked by this robotic like creature who we'll later find out is not really a robot. But, you know, he was trying to attack both Jack and Ashi, you know, at the same time, and he was calling her a samurai sympathizer, which is kind of crazy because in essence, he himself is brainwashed the same way that Ashi was to be helping Aku. When it really showed a great effect to see the transition of how Ashi is now looked at as a Jack sympathizer. So I've noticed that Ashi has been used in a rather sexual manner in this Samurai Jack series so far. And I'm even as willing to go as far in saying that it started with the last episode, where Ashi has been shown in chains smiling. And I didn't think much of this, but I noticed that the internet definitely did. And I couldn't help but think, as I was saying earlier, when Ashi was once again held up in a position when she was being electrocuted, being held off by the machine, that it looked like another sexualized episode of Ashi's body. And also when that man in the robot outfit was grabbing her and calling her pretty and grabbing her by the face, I am not gonna lie to you guys, the internet has caused me to look at every single Ashi scene in a way now and thinking that the entire show is making a sexual bondage scene of Ashi. Yes, guys, I went there. I'm sorry. I gotta be honest in these reviews, and I can't help but say I am noticing these things. Sorry. Sorry. When Ashi finally managed to overpower the robot after being electrocuted, and, you know, she stopped the source and the kids were not being infected, even though these kids were attacking Jack, I feel like it was very sad to see how Jack was after that moment, because Jack felt that the kids had died. And in seeing that, Jack is literally lost all hope. The children were to add hope because he's coming back because he wants to save those kids with Ashi. But because of the fact that he felt those kids were dead, it literally got rid of all of the hope that Jack had had in himself. And we already were getting some hints at that earlier in the episode where Jack was saying there's no way that you can beat Aku. There's like, it's impossible. I've been trying to do this for years. You just can't do it. I felt that that was the last slither of hope Jack had to add something positive to the world. And thinking that those kids were dead literally just nullified it all. And a lot of people were speculating that Jack was gonna possibly try to commit seppuku, which is the samurai way or the Japanese way of, you know, ritual suicide. And this was implied earlier because Jack keeps seeing this horseman-like creature appearing in his visions, and it's like he's walking away with this creature, kind of like the Grim Reaper taking Jack away from life. And I felt that this was so deep. I mean, this episode wasn't just dark, it was fucking deep, man. I mean, my God! Killing kids even though they weren't really dead. You know, Ashi's childhood being warped right in front of your eyes as she thinks Aku created the fucking stars in the sky. You know, I mean, the Scotsman being killed at the beginning of the episode, which I thought was going to be different because, for those of you who don't know, I mean, I have a Twitter, so although I hadn't seen the Samurai Jack episode yet, I kind of knew some spoilers because of people tweeting some stuff out. But either way, guys, this episode to me was brilliant. And I know I don't want to sound like a broken record saying every Samurai Jack episode is great, but the fact of the matter is they actually are. I mean, I'm not trying to lie to you, they are all pretty fucking good. I mean, episode 4 was probably the weakest one, but it was still really fucking good. I gave that one a 5 because of how well it showed Ashi in the episode and the contrast of their character. So, I'm sorry, guys. I gotta give this episode a 5 again. I know you might hate me for doing this, but this episode was just so fucking good, man. It was fucking good. I want to see the next one, man. My voice is losing itself. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys. Samurai Jack is fucking awesome.